All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Tuesday Night Smoke Sesh, round 14. And we've been doing this for 14 weeks already. It goes by kind of quick. But my name is David Yrigoyen. I go by MMJ underscore David. You can find me at davidyrigoyen.com. Tonight, we're sponsored by shopcleanhemp.com, getazcard.com, and Nana's Rub. And I look forward to vibing out with y'all. So let's get started. Tonight we're going to be talking about CBD-a, cannabidiol acidic. Now, I know we talked before about THCA, the tetrahydrocannabinolic, acid. Tonight we're talking about CBD-a. So very similar. You take it in the raw form, and it has some different healing benefits. So let me go ahead and get my smoky going. Give me 1 second. Hope you all are having a great start of your week. Weekend's going well. Currently, we are in September or August, end of August 2023. Looking forward to some fall weather, get some cool breeze, and still got to take care of my joints and bones from all the aches because of the cool weather, but at least it's better than this atrocious summers we have in the desert. So let's talk about CBD-a. Go to my window. Alrighty. What is CBD-a? So just a little basic search. What is CBD-a? You can find what is CBD-a good for. Cannabidiolic acid is how you actually say it. Still overlooked bioactive, and we're going to go to one right here. Actually, so I get a little ahead of myself. So, cannabidiolic acid, a still overlooked bioactive compound in introductory review and preliminary research. This is on National Library of Medicine. Oh, and before I get started, let me get back over here. I, David Yrigoyen, am not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not a healthcare practitioner. All I'm telling you all is I'm a cannabis consultant, cannabis advocate, and a healthcare enthusiast. I just came to tell you all information that I'm learning about cannabis and other natural and alternative remedies. All the information I share is online. You can find it easily with some searches, and I put the links below for everything. Want to just make that clear. So any claims made are not coming directly from me. They're coming from these resources that we are reading together or overviewing together from actual scientists, doctors, and professionals. So even though I'm not a professional, these people are, and they're the ones that are writing all this information and sharing it with us, and they're the ones that are publishing it all. So let's get back to this site. All right. CBD-a, still overlooked bioactive compound. So you can find some information down here, more about CBD-a. Like I said, it's in the raw form, so it's really easy to obtain. We'll talk about that here shortly. But you can see the benefits of CBD-a. For those of you listening on audio, cannabidiolic acid is a 22-carbon terpenophenolic compound and represents the main phytocannabinoid in the fiber and seed oil hemp varieties. So it's easy to obtain in almost all cannabis plants. It's going to be higher in medicinal hemp plants, So that's where you're going to be able to find this compound. The medicinal benefits of it are still being researched, but I have some information right here. Medicinal benefits of CBDA may help treat nausea, digestive issues, and anxiety. Also, some information down here about tumors, possibly helping prevent the spread of cancerous tumors. Like I said, this isn't my words. This is Leafwell who wrote this. And you can go over here. It'll tell you about how CBD itself gets made from the decarboxylation of CBD-a. And that's when you add heat to the plant. So without heat to the plant, you're going to keep the raw acidic form of the phytocannabinoids, CBD-a being one of them, THC-a being another one. Both of those compounds and the other acidic compounds are non-psychoactive and non-psychotropic. So you're not going to have any hallucinating, high feeling from these. They're going to be more therapeutic, relaxing, help with different ailments that the CBD and the THCA, delta 9 THC, and other cannabinoids do not help with. And you want to take this in conjunction with those other cannabinoids because you'll get the entourage effect. And that's what it mentions right here. Using these compounds synergetically is going to give you more relief. So by incorporating CBDA into your current regimen, you might see some more benefits. And you can do that really easily, like I said, with raw plant material. And I'll show you how to make that and obtain that here soon. Or I won't show you, but I'll explain it to you. CBDA is perfect for nausea. Great for nausea. They're learning more about that. I learned that from a patient of ours and also a friend of mine that has been experimenting with CBDA, doing also research for himself and for his family members, getting tremendous results for nausea with the CBDA. So I do know that it's beneficial. It says right here, CBDA was 1,000 times more potent than CBD, the decarboxylized form of CBDA. CBDA was 1,000 times more potent than CBD in reducing acute nausea. So you can read right here. This actually comes from the National Institute of Health. And this article is, I marked it right here too in the article. This article is Cannabinoid Regulation of Acute and Anticipatory Nausea. Anticipatory nausea. So this gives you a little bit of history too, how for more than 5,000 years, cannabis has been utilized as a medicine. They even reference that. So this is coming from an actual medical document stating that for more than 5,000 years, cannabis has been utilized as medicine. More than 5,000 years, cannabis has been utilized as medicine. People have been using this as medicine for over 5,000 years, documented. Who knows how much longer before that? So cannabis has actually been helping people more than these pharmaceutical meds and longer than these pharmaceutical meds have, but yet it's illegal. It's a Schedule 1 narcotic. That doesn't make sense. I wonder why. But you can see right here, this is documented. Now, as I mentioned earlier, 1,000 times more potent than CBD in reducing acute nausea. So anyone dealing with intestinal issues, chronic nausea, Crohn's disease, chemo-induced nausea, medical-induced nausea, CBDA could definitely help them out. Unlike THC, however, the anti-nausea effect of CBD and CBDA was mediated by agonism of 5-HT1A receptors, not CB1 receptors. So that means in shorter terms that CBD-a is going to different receptors that THC goes to. So that's why it's helping with different ailments. So all these cannabinoids are working synergetically, like I mentioned earlier, but they're going to different areas to give you relief. So that's why it's important to incorporate different methods of consumption. I've worked with patients that have been using cannabis for 30, 40 years. All they do is smoke it. All they do is smoke it. All they've ever done is smoke it. They're on all these pharmaceutical medications. I tell them, have you tried using edibles? Have you tried using topicals? Well, no, I just smoke it. It helps me that way. Well, yeah, I understand that, but you're only hitting certain receptors when you smoke it. When you ingest it, when you apply it topically, you're activating different receptors that give you different relief, and you're able to get off of different medications by doing that. So I have to explain these to people that are even seasoned cannabis users, but not getting the full benefits from it because they're only used to smoking it. So we do tell people that incorporating multiple methods of consumption is going to give them more relief or optimal relief. And then you can look up CBD-a for anxiety. This was done by the University of Sydney. Our own preclinical studies show CBD-a reduces anxiety and seizures. The University of Sydney. This isn't an online university. This isn't, an unaccredited university. This is actually a .edu university. So they are accredited. They're reliable. They have their pretty little shield of honor, or whatever it is, but it lets you know right here when you click on it, and it says that word again, entourage effect, and that's by using all the cannabinoids. That's what they mean by that. But you can read this article, and I'll put the link, and it'll talk about how they discovered CBD-a can help with anxiety and seizures. It says right here, our own preclinical studies show CBD-a reduces anxiety and seizures. This result provides us with a pathway to explore why some cannabis extracts yield pharmaceutical effects in humans at lower dosages. So that's also saying right here, prior to that our results suggest CBD-a might play a greater role in effects of these low-dose CBD products than previously thought. So this must be an article about taking low-dose CBD-a, which is even better because it shows you don't need a lot. You're going to get relief with just a small amount of CBD-a. And you can find this all right here. Like I said, all I did was type in CBD-a for anxiety, and it brought up this article from the University of Sydney. You can see down here, cannabidiol disrupts conditioned fear expression. So there's another article that talks about how cannabidiol, CBD, helps with fear and other mental imbalances and acute symptoms. So you can definitely find more information. Even talks about CBD-a in this article, but I'm not getting into that one. Then we also have another article right here that is CBD-a for tumors. Now, all I'm doing is doing basic Google searches for all this stuff. I'm not going to theonion.com or any of these other novelty websites. It's not even freaking Wikipedia. This is government published medical studies that are pulling up right now. So when I type in CBD-a for tumors, I'm not pulling up some Shotsky jalopy website. I'm pulling up an actual medical reference website. And right here, let me see. CBD-a offers potential therapeutic modality in the abrogation of cancer cell migration, including aggressive breast cancer. So this article shows that it could even help with breast cancer. So, like I said, man, these aren't my claims. These aren't my, they're, I'm speaking it, I'm the messenger, but they're not my words. I'm just repeating what someone else has documented from their studies. And I'll share these links with you. This article is cannabidiolic acid, CBDA, a major compound in fiber type cannabis, is an inhibitor of MDA-MB-231 breast cancer cell migration. So you can go ahead and read this article, and it'll just tell you more about what they found with the CBDA. Let's see if I can go to the results and discussion. Let me see. So, it just has all their findings. But it looks positive. So it says right here at the end, in short, our data strongly suggests that CBDA is an effective inhibitor of breast cancer cell migration in vitro. Well, in vitro, so I guess they must have been injecting it, but we're not quite there yet in human studies, but that's promising. And I've also seen before in studies done in Israel how they're taking in vitro THC and giving it to lab mice, completely causing apoptosis in the cancerous cells. So apoptosis is cell destruction. So they're committing cell suicide, which means that the cancerous cells are killing themselves and not spreading. That has been shown with actual injection of THC into the areas. So that we're not quite there yet in human studies, but we will get there in the near future. We'll start to see more people actually accessing cannabis in different forms than just smoking edibles and topicals. So we will see some more of that in the near future. Right here. Okay, that's the same one I pulled up. So you can just, like I said, do basic searches for CBDA in cancer, CBDA in tumors, CBDA in nausea. Unfortunately, it's not going to be a plethora of findings because the research is still limited on everything. So everything that we are discovering is recent, within the last 8 years. It's not even within the last 10 years. They barely started researching these other cannabinoids. They're barely discovering these cannabinoids. I think within the last 10 years, that's when most of the cannabinoids have even been discovered. So research is going to continue us to learn more about these cannabinoids and how they can give us relief. But until then, we have to just see how it helps us through experience. That's what a lot of people do with cannabis, and that's how a lot of these studies come forward, because someone will make a claim that it's helped with something, and someone wants to prove it right or wrong and see why it's actually helping, if it's helping. So I know that as we have people start making more claims about how cannabis helps with different things, we'll start to see more studies done to prove that. Just like the PTSD studies going on right now, they make claims that CBD and THC and other cannabinoids, even CBD-a, I'm sure, what we saw helps with anxiety, they help with PTSD. These claims are starting to be researched. They have numerous people volunteering to be part of these studies. Now, some of them have really strict prerequisites, just so it makes sure that the studies are being done correctly. But what a lot of people already know that have been using this for the PTSD is that it works. And it's not all strains, it's not all forms of consumption, it's not even the THC itself. It's just the cannabis in different ways can bring them different relief. That can be through hemp cannabis or marijuana cannabis. They're both the same thing. They're cannabis sativa. It's just the way they've been selected and grown over time. I showed you guys earlier in our CBD podcast how there's a difference between industrial grown hemp and medicinally grown hemp. Industrial grown hemp is just grown straight up and down, with the stalk and one cola for fiber. They want the stalk for fiber, and they're only worried about that or focused on that, not necessarily the cola, which is the fruit of the plant. So it just grows straight up. But then you see the other farms that are growing medicinal hemp, and they're actually growing bushy, fruitful plants that are producing high yield of bud, which is the fruit, hemp fruit. Now, those plants right there, the only thing different between those and marijuana is that they've been selected over time to have higher traces of CBD-a and lower traces of THCA, which convert to CBD and delta-9 THC. So that's the only difference between those plants, is over time they've been selected and bred to have very low dosages or very low traces of THCA and very high traces of CBD-a. It's the only difference between them. That's the only difference. They're both cannabis sativa. They may have different variants, but they're all the same family right there. They're all the same family, unless you get into like ruderalis, which is similar but different. So cannabis sativa, hemp, marijuana, they're all the same thing. When you start looking at the cannabinoid structures, that's where you'll start to get more relief. We mentioned in podcast with Dr. Johnson, I believe it was our second or third podcast, that high amounts of THC and low amounts of other cannabinoids is not ideal. Yeah, people think that that's going to be great for recreational purposes. Even then, it wears off really, really quick. So you may get like a certain burst of sensation or feeling or stimulation from the plant, but then it doesn't last long. Where when you find variants that have more balanced cannabinoids, strains that have more balanced cannabinoids, you'll start to notice that medicinally and effectively, they're more pleasing than the other strains that are high THC. So I think it's really important to have that balance when using not only the plants for inhalation, but also when ingesting them. And you'll be able to dial that in with tinctures. You can get full spectrum medicinal hemp tinctures. You can get full spectrum medicinal marijuana tinctures. You can take those and create your own ratios. You can create your own ratios when it comes to making this stuff. You can go and find herb or CBD herb, CBD cannabis, or CBD hemp, CBD flower, and whatever term you want to use. You can go find that from the dispensary. You can put it in a little mason jar, little glass jar, saturate it in some oil. Just let it sit on your windowsill for a couple days or a week. Open that up, and now all that oil is saturated with that raw cannabis material, and you just created an oil saturated in CBD-a or THCA. You use that for salads. You could put it in capsules. You could pour it on food, put it in condiments, anything where no heat is added to it, and you're able to consume that oil and get the THCA or CBDA in the raw form and not have it activated into CBD, cannabidiol, or delta 9 THC. So there's ways like that are very simple to obtain CBDA yourself if you're not able to find it. Like I said, you just go to a dispensary or a place selling hemp and you take that raw material. You can see the certificate of analysis. You can see what the yield of CBDA is in that plant. You take that and you just saturate it in some oil. Really, really easy. Don't add any heat to it. You don't want to add any heat to it. That's how you're going to obtain your CBDA. Now, there's other ways you can get into different types of extractions that will have CBDA. I know there's isolates and diamonds that have CBDA, but now you're pulling away from the entourage effect. You're pulling away from that full spectrum material, and you're starting to get into something a little different, closer to what we use with current pharmaceuticals. So, in my opinion, it would be better to focus on the raw plant material being converted. And like I said, you can do that at home yourself rather than those extracts that claim to be 100% CBDA, but nothing else. And those usually, they have no color. The full color has been taken away. Everything's been wiped off of it to make it into those extracts. They may have benefits for some people, but for what most people need is just going to be that basic raw material. Really easy to do, really easy to make. That's what's helping people with anxiety. That's what's helping people with seizures. All that stuff right there that we read about. That right there in those forms are what's actually helping. You don't have to get all scientific about it, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on these different products when you can just make it really, really easily at home. Get some cheesecloth, strain it out after you saturate it, run it through another run of cheesecloth, squeeze all the oil out. And even after you're done with that and you have that cannabis or hemp herb that's been saturated in that oil and you just squeezed it all out to separate the oil from the flower material, you can take that flower material. You can either put it back into the earth, you can cook with it, you can put it on your body for ailments. There's different ways to use herbal patches that are made with actual plant material and oils, and you put the herb, that herbal concoction, you put it on your body, wrap it up, and it's supposed to have medicinal properties as well. Those are other ways to utilize the herb. So now you're getting multiple benefits out of your CBDA. You won't be able to achieve any relief from CBDA with inhalation. The minute it hits 200 degrees, I believe it is, Fahrenheit, it starts the decarboxylation process. So unless you're using a real low temperature to vaporize material and you're able to control that, you essentially could be getting CBDA because you're inhaling cannabinoids. But if anything that goes with the combustion, if it's affected by the conversion if it affects the conversion process, then you're not going to get the CBDA. So I think, in my best experience and in my opinion, from all my research and use of cannabis and hemp, I firmly believe the best way to achieve CBDA and relief from CBDA is to keep it in the raw form. When you start messing around with it, you're going to do conversion processes. Just that raw, cold pressed, saturating form is going to be ideal for you. Well, it was great vibing out. Hopefully you learned a little bit something about CBDA tonight. I pretty much touched everything I wanted to touch on tonight's episode for 30 minutes. If we had a lot longer, we can get more into scientific results and the science behind it and the endocannabinoid system. And you could listen to me fumble over these big words and explain things that I don't know full into context. But for the most part, the evidence-based research that I contain and the physicians I work with and the people I surround myself with, that evidence-based research shows that these compounds do have benefits. Science is going to catch up with that here soon. But until then, everything's going to be trial on our own will. And I don't like to call it trial and error because you really don't have any error unless you take too much and you learn. You get a bad experience with it. But even after that, you still wake up. You just learn not to do that again. And you respect the plant a lot more because it is medicine and it has to be respected. Just like any other herb, it can't be exploited. It shouldn't be exploited. It should be respected, taken with care. And when you start messing with nature and you start exploiting nature, nature starts to work against you. So I think it's important to give respect and love to the plant. More people will start to see that with this plant. It is living being, it is alive when it's growing. They have shown that plants do have emotions. They carry sensors that react to different things. So that can be defined as an emotion if you're getting a similar reaction from pathways that are being monitored that you get from human emotional response, but it's happening in plants and those pathways are still hitting the same kind of markings that happen with human response. That shows that plants actually have a reaction, an emotional response to something. So this has been proven. Plants are living beings. We all know that. You have to take care of them or they die. If you don't give them water, light, soil, nutrients, you're not going to have a plant. They at least need water and light, photosynthesis. So these are living beings. They have to be respected. Cannabis has always been good to me and others. And I'm happy to see us making this progress in my lifetime. I've always had a connection with cannabis, and it's been great since high school to see that I did not have to remove myself from this plant for one reason or another, because it has gained many, I guess, movements in the last 20 years. And I'm just glad that I've been able to make this a part of my life and help you all learn more about this. So cannabis does have to be respected. It's not a cure-all, but we can all see from this these research papers I've been pulling up that it does have benefits. And maybe one day we will get it dialed in to where it could be utilized as something that people claim to be a cure-all. But until then, we're just going to have to keep using at our own will and learning. I love y'all and have a great night. Bye.
Pain, anxiety, and depression naturally.
At Natural Healing Care Center, we're here to guide you on your path to wellness.
We'll help you find natural relief through practices like meditation, yoga, medical cannabis certifications, CBD products, and more. Our premium custom rubs and tinctures are crafted from all natural, organic, full-spectrum ingredients. Check our website for more information on our products, services, and our fun in-person events.